Hi guys, welcome in. Sorry for the delay. Having website issues, but we're here. We're going to paint. This is on for replay. So you can see I have my paint palette. We're going to mix all our colors. I have the primary colors, black and white. So I'm going to show you my brushes that I'm using as well. I just got to turn on my other light. Hold on a sec, but I'm going to use my large brush. For some of the background, we're going to get a base coat on the background. And my detailed brush. And you use number 2, number 4, some number 0, and a medium flat brush is what I like to use. You can also use a round brush instead. And we're going to get started. So for the background, let's get started right away. You can pause and take your time throughout this video. In terms of background color, I start with just a base coat of a really dark blue, and then we're going to get a base coat down here of some little bit of like a little bit of I say a light pink. You can do different colors because there's going to be a mesh of colors. So I'm going to dip my large brush into the water. So let's start with a nice dark blue in our background. Take plain blue. So just as is, it's nice and dark. It's good enough. Take that. And for me, I like to kind of map out where the swirls are. So it's very Van Gogh style, really fun. I'm just going to now swirl that like this. So I have an idea of where things are going to sit. It makes it a lot easier. And you can even put like little circles for where the stars are going to be. Like that. And you're like, okay, I want another right here and maybe another bigger one here. And I wanted to also, so you see how it gets into the warmer colors down here? I also want to mark that down too with just the plain blue. So I'm going to go up around halfway and just do some hill type, just rounded, soft curves like that. You can come up like that and then go down a little bit lower. Pull this to the side. Then I want to fill this in. So I know that my moon's going to be over here. I'm just going to come back to that later. I'm just going to fill it in. We're going to paint it over top. And see how I have a bit of a half star up at the top here? So you could just do a little dip like that. And you know how there's a second part to that swirl there? You can put that into. I'm going to, you can have this kind of sitting there just for reference if you want to have a second swirl. And fill this in. Even if you fill this whole thing in, that's fine too, because you can always map out where you want your wind gusts and everything and the stars to be afterwards. So I don't mind going into the spots that I had mapped out for my stars and the wind. Also, I wanted to say sorry to anybody who signed up online and didn't get a reminder because our website is not loading for us right now. So just a technical problems there, but it will be sent eventually. So paint, and you can use a touch of water. I don't use too much water with this actually when I'm painting it in, just because I don't want to get it too transparent. When you have thicker amount of paint, you can get it more solid looking. And as I fill this in, I like to fill it in with the direction I want it to flow. So I know that I want it to fall around here, so I'm just following it around. That's more to come later when we actually do the swirly motions and the short little lines. A fun little color that you can have on the side with this afterwards, I added gold on top, which if you like the shine, you think it's kind of cool for the stars, add it in. You can also use any other premix colors that you like as well, but we can pretty much make everything except for the metallics. So if you are wanting to make gold, can't really make it unless you have sparkly gold paint. All right, so I have that filled in, and down here, let's just get more of a hot pink going. You can do different colors and say you can just do red if you want that to be your base. I'm going to do a hot pink, so I'm just washing that off. And I'm just looking at the comments more at this moment. Hi, welcome in, guys. Hi, Deborah, welcome back. I see familiar names. And yes, this can be viewed on replay for later. At any point, you can pause it, rewind it, all that fun stuff. We don't take it down, so you can watch it anytime. So I washed off my brush, and now we're going to do a bit of a hot pink down here. Don't worry, with the black is to come afterwards when we're done, and it goes right over top of everything, really nice, real smooth. All right, so with the large brush, let's pull some white to the side and some red, a little bit more red than white. And if you have a pre-mixed magenta color, you can just use that. So there's a hot pink right here. And then put that in. Let's just go a little bit below the blue for now, because I know if I touch the blue, I'm just going to start making purple. Not that it's a big deal, but I don't want too much purple. We'll fill this in. Nice big scoop. I don't necessarily have to fill it in over here. I know it's all going to be black. So that's something I don't really need to focus on too much. And now I can just get it over here. See, touch the blue. If you like that, you can just leave it. But mostly on my very left side is where I have it all filled in. And then just on the side, I don't care too much. It's going to be covered. So now I'm going to take this color and go up into the blue. I don't mind it mixing and mingling with it. It's probably a good thing because overall, it is all going to mix together later anyways. Just be careful because sometimes the blue takes over the pink quite a bit. All right, just wash that off again. And just dry that. So certain things I'm going to put in here just to make it a little bit more, you can distinguish it a little bit better. With a medium brush, we don't need to use such a big brush unless this one you want to use a bigger brush. For a bit of a base coat there, you can use a bit of a lighter blue. You can use more of a purple if you want to go more purpley instead. I'm just going to use a bit of a lighter blue. So blue and some white. Put that in some water. Put this in. Just filling it in. So I'm not too careful. Once again, it's all the short little lines are going to bring it together pretty nicely. And I'm going to blow dry this painting. I feel like it just speeds it along a tiny bit more. So I'm going to put these circles in, and it avoids mixing colors too much. Put that over here. Star. Maybe I'll have it over here instead. I can just blend this out if I don't want my star. I feel like it's just a bit too close, so I can put it more over on the side. Circle this in. You can tell I'm just being messy. This is a base coat. No one's going to see this base coat. It's only going to get more and more awesome and more colors, deeper colors, more vibrant too. And a little bit up here. Okay. So now that I have that, I can blow dry this. So give me like 2 minutes to blow dry that, and you can pause this and do the same thing. We'll get started again whenever you're ready. Okay, so now that that is dry, now we can do some more things. So, in terms of starting with different colors, I just start with various colors that that I just feel like it. I kind of started with a lighter teal and then went to some other blues, and I gradually added in some purples and black, and then a little bit of yellow too. So the first thing, before I get to teal, first I just want to get some yellow while I can before I add in teal, because if I try to put yellow on top of teal, of course, it just makes more green or more teal. So let's do that. I'm using my medium. Oh, we can use this. This was the one I was talking about. And put some more white in here. That's for teal. What am I doing? So go back to, you can use a lemon yellow, by the way, if you want to use lemon yellow. So to make a lemon yellow, you just need a bit of yellow and some white. And you got bright, soft yellow. And you know what? It can be any yellow that makes you happy. There we go. And some of this. So to start, we're going to use our brush more on the corner right here. And you can use it this way, but I like to use it on the corner, press, and then kind of do a little, tiny little line. First, I'm going to start with my middle circles within. I'm just going to blob it in, because you can always add more into it a second coat later. If this is wet, it's just going to turn really green, but even when it is dry, it gives it a tiny bit of a greenish color if you keep going over it. I'm not really using much water here, so I'm just going to put a couple little streaks like that going around, and then go to the next one. So another one's over here, and you can just spiral it out. Short little dotted lines. They're not perfect, as you can see, they're totally not perfect, and I purposely made kind of a mess of it, just a little bit. I'm going to add more to this later. You know, it's more of what I feel like doing, how much of one color I want to put in. So the other one, I want to put it right around here. Do a couple of these again. Didn't really put it in here too much, except I went on the outsides a bit. Let's just do this star. I have some here. And then the moon. So you can use your detailed brush for this, of course. And you can get a circular object to trace around about 3/4 of the way instead. That is always a fun thing to do. And I'm just going to trace around this. Usually when it gets up to the corner, it works out perfectly. If you don't add enough white, by the way, it tends to turn green a lot faster. So I'm just going within that circle. I'm not going out wider unless you want it bigger. And I'm keeping it nice and thin right around here, and then pressing more here. There. So it's a bit greenish, but I'm going to come back to that. That's what happens. So I'm going to come back to that, do a second coat. It's going to be more yellow. Go back to this. Try not to have too much water on this brush right now. And then for me, what I did around here is just put a couple little light yellow highlights shaping around the edge of my wind gust. Something like that. Let's go a bit closer. And we're going to add in some fun things over here as well. If you want to start putting that in, why not, right? A little bit more shaping in this area. Don't worry too much about colors. Start using more of the colors that you like. As you keep going, you're going to realize what colors you want to use more of, what you want to go back to. So here's a good start. We have more of a map of where everything is. Then I just wash that off again. So I'm going to come back to this color. We're not done with it. Now we can make that light teal I was just talking about. So really all you have to do is just take a bit of that light yellow and add it to your light blue. If you're starting from scratch, let's take a little bit of yellow and white, but only a dot of yellow, maybe 2 dots, depending on how teal or minty green you want it to be. And then taking a nice big pea size of blue. Yeah, that makes a teal. So here's one of it. And then if I want to make it a bit lighter, all I do is pull some more white off to the side. Don't really mix it with all of it, just a portion, a small portion. You get a very light version of this color. All right. So let's start putting this in here. Okay, short little lines here. I don't mind going outside, so it's not too perfect, just a little. Some around there. And what I did in this section where it kind of does a double swirly thing for the wind, I'm going to pull this in. A little spiral, right? So it kind of just spirals out, short little lines. And then this comes out here for a second one. You can have it a little further out. So you can just go a little bit further out for that one. It's not a perfect spiral. It's not like you see the entire spiral right now. It's just the start of it. I'm just filling it more in. So it's all filled in up here, touching where this has kind of went into. And usually the direction that you keep with here, you can see where the motion is going. I just go a little bit wider off to the side. That's all I did. I'll bring this up a bit closer. You can see from here it's a bit more narrow as it squishes in here to turn and spiral in. And then as I get out here, I went a little bit wider on the above and on the bottom before it goes narrow into here. Okay, so let's keep using this. And by the way, you can always switch up this color. Go a bit lighter, darker, add a touch more yellow if you want a minty green. I'm just sticking with this until I'll switch to a minty green very shortly and go to a darker teal. You can see I'm working pretty fast, and if you're going, oh, it's going to take me forever. No, I'm working fast because I'm not making it perfect. I'm not trying to make it perfect. So I put a few of these off to the side here. Actually, let me show you some of the detailed brush too. Maybe you have a much smaller surface you're working with. Maybe you've already figured it out and you can just do short little lines with this guy too. Softer ones. You can make more of a circle here. So it's like you're making an actual circle. Don't forget it wraps around on this side a little bit. Thing with a detail brush is that it runs out of paint and water if you're using a touch of water really, really fast. Okay, so that is the one color. And let's start switching to Let's go to a darker blue or a darker teal, and we're going to go to minty green. You can do both of these colors. You can just do one of them. So I'm going to go back to my medium flat one before I go to the detailed one again. All I'm doing is adding more blue. And you can use that if you want to keep it more teal again. Add another dot of yellow. More blue. Much darker. So it's kind of in between this color and this color. I'm just adding it in. If it looks like it's exactly the same color as your background and you don't like it, switch it up. Either add a touch more white to it, add a touch more yellow, or, just more blue. I'm not even caring where I put this really. I just know that I can use more of the flat side of my brush now. You don't have to use too much of the corner. You can just use more of the flat side, which I mean the tip of the brush, more on the full horizontal line there. Going a little bit, let's go a little bit darker. I feel like it's just blending with my background, but that's okay. So you know what? If you're trying to make it look like there's less of the lighter teal, you put this color on top and it kind of drowns it out a little. And some in here, a couple in here. So it picks up yellow. It's okay. It gives it a bit of a green tinge. I'm going to put some a little bit here. And if I go over my previous color, my light teal I had here, see how it's kind of softer looking now? A good illusion to add into your painting, this color that we were just mixing, adding a bit more blue to the same teal. Nice big scoop of it. And now in between, see these empty spots here? It's not going to be empty later, but this is a great color because it slightly is different than what we've been using in the background, and it's going to start filling it in more and give it more of a solid look. So I'm just filling it in. I'm just following the same motion. So just follow whatever you think is right, meaning just follow it around circular parts here, follow it around the sides, so circular around here until it's all filled in. Just follow that, short little lines. Sometimes they overlap. Wherever it flows, whatever seems right to you. If you want it to keep going circular, you can do that, following the same motions as I work my way out and into the open area. Right here, it's just going this way, and I keep flowing it that same way. Okay. What I want to do now, wash this off, is I am going to introduce some purple. I'm going to put minty green on top because I don't want it all to be on the bottom. I want to put purple in, and then I can go and put minty green and or teal, whatever teal colors or blues you want to put back in. And then we'll do more fun stuff down here for sure. Wash that off and make a bit of purple. So instead of making purple, you could just use a mauve pale, or violet. But to make purple, let's mix. So take some blue here, run out of blue, and a scoop of red. So a scoop of red, a little pea size or a little touch or two of blue, and then just a pea size of white, and you got purple. If you put a lot of white, it's obviously going to be a lot lighter, but if you put a little bit less, it's going to be more violet, deeper color. It's more of a purpley color. And just add more blue, touches of blue to your liking. And remember, you can use pre-mixed purples instead. You can even mix purples together, so I can even just take a pre-mixed purple and just mix it and add, just makes more, right? It's kind of the same color. Okay, so let's use something like that, and let's see how it looks. Be careful here, because sometimes if it picks up yellow or green or too much teal, it can start making a bit of a brownish color. And I'm just putting this around into the stars. Oops. I'm just getting another, I want to show you another purple that you can use too. This is like a dark violet. That one's fun. That could be fun. Just add it in. So you don't want to take equal parts of your red and blue. Otherwise, it turns just really indigo. And that's a good color too, but it's just a lot of blue. You want about 3 to 2 parts red to 1 part blue. Just be careful with that. And then, yeah, start putting this in. It's kind of funny because here it looks, you can't really see the purple in here right now because I think the camera doesn't pick up purple super, super well, especially when it's around blue. It tends to think it's blue. So this is actually purple. I'll show this a little closer. Yeah, this is a violet. I don't know if you guys can see it the way that I see it, or maybe it looks more on the blue side. So in the open areas, this is where I mostly put it. Some here. And I did introduce a little bit of purple into my wind gust. I mostly shaped around, so I just followed into this little crease here as it wraps around to give it more of that boost of a spiral shape. So some in here. Putting a few into the stars. And let me know if you do see the purple, the color in the camera, or if it's just blue. Okay, so I'm saving. I like to save my colors for later so I can always come back to it, but I don't mind making it again if I have to. I washed off this brush. And going down here, let's add in, so with pink and orange and red, all that fun stuff, I'm going to take my mixing palette. Should have been using that. So let's take orange first, and then we'll add some straight red. So we're taking, you know, like a good amount of red, not too much, but this is probably maximum. And then I'm going to take a big giant scoop of yellow. So let's take one and then one more. And we have orange. Yeah, I thought it would just be blue. The camera's not picking up as purple right now. But here we have orange, and just add like a tiny little touch of white if it's really, really dark. I like it because it acts like a medium and makes it stand out a bit better. And use that. Remember, take a little, so you can take like a little bit of white here, just add it in. I'm going to be careful with that. But when I add it in, it's going to show against my background really well. I want to use this color. And just start going for it. Pink and orange. There's something about that combination that's kind of cool. So before I go into this area, gotta be careful. I just want to get it established into the bottom. I'm going to go up higher, but I have to be careful with the purple. I need to blow dry it first. It's usually a good idea. If you have pre-mixed oranges, go grab those. Okay. Don't forget in this middle area, this very bottom part, I'm just being lazy. So I'm going to blow dry this and add a little bit extra orange into, just wrapping into here a tiny bit. You can put them on these stars. I didn't do that in the original. As you can tell, it's mostly yellow, teal, and some purple. And then, but in this star, I put a little bit more stuff in, and I have a little bit more colorful things happening in here. It's just good to let it dry. So again, give me like a minute to do that. And you can do the same thing. Pause the video, come back when you're ready, and be able to do more colors instead of, mixing colors together and accidentally making brown. Okay. Let's put a bit more orange in. I'm just using my detail brush now. Change up the brush. Get some different sizes, especially going around some stars when it's a little bit smaller in here. You can do some light little touches. And I add a little extra up here. Up in this area. And some up here too. So it's hard to see what's going on behind this area, which I kind of fill in after I make the outline of the face. I kind of fill it in so that it's just easier that way instead of having to rely on doing a perfect cutout. So I have some wrapping around here, and then I can take just some plain red. So you can use your larger brush for this. Right into the mix. I like to put this in. I don't mind it touching the orange. It's totally okay. Same thing. Now we have lots and lots going on. Mostly from the bottom. I like to bring it up from the bottom. And you can see I'm filling a lot of this in right now. But I put in a bit of hot pink to let it kind of merge a bit more together. Unless you like it more dotted like this. So if I take a bit of white, go back to that hot pink, while everything is still a little bit wet, you can give it the illusion. Remember, it kind of blends it out a little bit without blending it. I personally like to take this color and put some into this star, because that's what I did there, but not the other stars, just this one special star. Kind of blends it out, gives it a bit of a blended look overall. So personally for me, if you take a touch of your purple or a touch of, or a dot of blue, mix that into your, go more white as well, you can get a light sort of pink magenta color. A little bit more white. Let's go a bit lighter. See, it's kind of, it's slightly getting on the purple side, but it's very different type of pink. There's a dot of blue or a dot of purple. You can add 2 dots if you want it slightly more different. And then for here, you can just go over, for example, some of these spots of your pink. You can just add it into the pink areas that you have mostly pink, so right around here. You can bring some, I like to bring it in a little bit into here as well, into my wind gust. Just around where I already had my purple. I think it's a nice little complementary color. just around the star. And of course, pile it in just a little bit into this in the warmer colors. Okay, washing that off. So hopefully it's going well. It's fun. I hope it's fun for people. Can't wait to see the results on our Facebook page, or just Palette Derm Region on Facebook. We like to see different interpretations. And we're just, having fun with some of the colors, the warmer colors down here. And we're going back up into doing a little bit more of our bright yellow. However, we haven't done the black yet. I'm just trying to think, should I do yellow first? Yes, I should. So I'm going to pop out a bit of my yellow. I already have enough in here, unless you want more. I am adding gold at the end. So if you think it's a bit more yellow, it's because I'm adding a bit more gold. If you don't have gold, the closest thing is yellow ochre. I feel like it's a good... You can also use a bit of raw sienna with it. It kind of has a golden look overall. And this is gold. It's actually, to me, it's not as pleasant looking as the other ones I showed you, but this one's got a shine. It's metallic. So that's for at the end, where it looks a bit more yellowy, but that's not just yet. So with my detail brush, I'm going back to my light yellow color. And I'm going to now, this is going to make it a lot more yellow. This is going to be good. You know what? I don't really care too much about other colors mixing in with this. I don't mind a bit of green or teal. It's not supposed to be perfect. I don't like it too perfect. That's just me. Here. Okay. And then I just blob in a little bit more into the centers of my stars that I had. And if you want to pop out any little short lines in here, you can. So you can just be like, oh, I just want a little bit of a highlight. They'll be fine. And remember that outline I had just a bit around here. I've had a couple little lines just going right around the side. The idea is that the moon here is kind of reflecting into and off of this, so it's picking it up just a little. That's all. Okay. Forgot that I had a little bit more of the yellow in here. So I'm just adding with my detail brush, a couple short lines here, filling in the space, and then just on a little bit on the outsides. So a little bit more concentrated close to my moon, more overlap, and then more sparse and kind of spaced out, very light. Press a little bit lighter so it's a little bit more faded, like as if the shine is fading outwards and it's not as bright away from the moon. Okay, so you can have just a few coming out towards the side. You can always break up a lot of this yellow with darker colors like dark blue purple. You can just get rid of some so it's a little bit more brighter around the moon, and then it just fades away. So let's jump back. I'm just going to keep using this brush for now. Let's jump back to a little bit of white and some blue. You can use your plain phthalo blue. I like to add a touch of white again. I think it pops out the color a tiny bit more. So it's just no yellow this time. See if you like that. You can just add some in. Just going over some spots. You can skip this part and go straight ahead to a different color if you're done with this color. For me, you can go back to a light teal, but a bit more minty green. So an extra little dip of yellow, more white. And here you have more of a minty green. Let's do one more yellow. Until you're happy with how greenish it looks. I'm just adding a little bit more yellow and blue. I didn't want it too light. That should be fine. Okay. I space these ones out a tiny bit more than the other colors, so they're not overlapping a whole lot. Kind of a bit more spaced out overall. And just a little undertone, just a little bit in here. Follow this into my wind gust as well. Gives it a bit more extra, tiny bit more green. You can actually just use a light green instead. I think it helps take away from all of that same blue. Spiral it in. So just a few in here. It's kind of a nice little effect to add just a couple. It's like bleeding through some of this color. That was how I thought of it anyway. And around these stars. Overall, since it's a light color, it pops out all the brightness in the lighter spots. So I'm not going in between here, right? That would take away from everything that I have kind of standing out around here. Do a couple around some of the yellow. Just putting a little bit more yellow back in. spot. Don't mind it mixing. And now at this point, I can go to some black and I can kind of drown it out a little bit with just some blue. So you can do a lighter blue, you can just do a plain blue or purple, because if you have too much of a thicker black stroke, you can just put a bit of color over top to pick it up and get rid of some of the harsh black. However, let's just take some black and let's just start with going around everything that's really light. So around these areas first before you go into them. And it gets it more shaped. And I'm just putting a couple into a little bit of the edges. So going inside the edges just a tiny little bit, but committing more so into the open dark areas. Remember where we put all that dark blue and purple? There, look at that. It's going to pump up the contrast big time. More, add more in here. Kind of blobbed it in. I don't mind picking up some other color. I don't mind it muddying a bit. It's kind of cool. As you can see on the other side, it's a bit more muddied. And this is good to just shape around your moon even a little bit more. Few into here, but it's more just getting in between some of these areas. Maybe putting in more of that spiral here. Now you can see a tiny bit more of that spiral. You can see how it's in the middle. It's just gives it more of a circular motion. You can put some of this black, or you can just do a dark blue instead or a dark purple to put an extra bit of darkness where it's all coming together nice and rounded in there. And I'm putting a little bit in here. There's a bunch going on in there. So that's up to you how much you want to put in. You can start off with a little bit less and then add more. I'm more concentrated into the open areas where there's no stars or wind. I think it's coming together kind of nicely, pretty fun. And so remember what I said about going back to like a plain blue or a dark purple, like a violet. If I just add, maybe you can add like a small touch of white to it, so it's not that dark, but you can put some color just kind of directly over top, and it will usually picks up the black and it doesn't make it as sharp with the colors, not as dark looking. So that's just plain blue or violet with a touch of white, only a small touch. It's still very dark, kind of on purpose. And it can give it a bit more of a mix together, but also take away from all of that really dark color. Okay. Here it's so filled in. It's great. Pretty fun. And at the bottom, if you're thinking it's a bit empty, I mean, it probably is a little bit empty at the bottom here. Before we get to some black, I'm thinking we should put in a little bit more. You can go back to some orange. You can go back to a little bit extra. You can actually add a light purple, more light purple down here. So if I take a little bit of a light purple, so pink, and add in a little bit of purple in here, or just a touch more blue. Look at that light yellowy magenta pinky purple I was talking about. That's a pretty safe color just to add in down here. Not really doing too much. But I'm going to put in some more of my orange. I like that orange. So pick your favorite colors. Go back to whatever you like. I'm just doing some orange here. And I like to place it over top wherever. Going a little bit up into the star. And blow dry your painting. If it's starting to pick up a lot of some greens or something, or blue, I have plans for this bottom part. So I'm going to put black in for the outline of the hill. And then I'm going to kind of blend it out a bit with some red and purple. And it's going to pick up a bit of the black and make it deeper down in this corner, which is what I want. Okay. I think I'm going to let this blow dry. Something fun you can add into your moon, just in the meantime, you can take a little bit of orange and some of your light yellow. So remember to just mix. So it's basically a lighter peachy kind of crafted or cheese color. So light yellow and a touch of your orange. So you get it. Still looks a bit yellowy, but also it gives it a bit of a golden color. And that's another way to do that. You can just add in some of this into the highlights around. And if it's too much, just drown it out with a bit of black, because black will still keep it a bit golden looking. Okay, so I'll show you a bit closer. To that moon. All these wonderful colors. And now I'm going to blow dry it, put in my hill. And while that's just drying for a minute, I'm going to put in some gold around here if you're feeling like putting some gold. This, if you don't have gold, use this color. So the bright yellow, remember the bright yellow we made for the moon, and a touch of your orange, or maybe 2 touches of it. You got this cheesy looking color, but it's also kind of golden when you paint with it. You can also use yellow ochre or combined a little bit with some raw sienna and some white. I'm going to touch up onto the brightness around using a bit of that gold color and maybe a little bit into here before I focus on the face, mapping out the face. All right, let's put this black in. In terms of brushes, you can use a round brush is good, a medium round brush, a little touch of water. We don't need a whole bunch, and obviously some black. Okay, here's the trick with this. To avoid it looking like it's, this can happen. If you make it to, if you start like up here, or actually, sorry, if you start down here and you make it all directly into the middle of the painting without it being a bit more asymmetrical, it might bother you and throw you off a little bit. So I do start the black pretty high up, right? So I'm going to go, instead of going too far, I'm just going to start a little bit lower. And I'm going to just, you can see it's cutting off this a little bit. So I'm going to go more to this side at first, because if I go too far in the middle, there's just something about that that's, I don't know, it just didn't seem right to me. So I'm going to bring this up right around here and into this one a little bit. So this is where the hill is. Okay, this swirl. Let's do that in just a moment. Let's bring it down to the other corner, just very lightly, drag along for a little bit before it comes up, right? So we have that asymmetry. It's not directly, you're not accidentally making a lot of black here and a lot of black there. From the corner, bring it up just a little bit and get this filled in. Water. Okay, so this is also around the halfway point. That's where it's starting to come in a little bit more. So I'm starting off thinner, as you can see. It's easier to start off smaller, than it is to have to take away from it. Because let me tell you, that is not fun having to readjust, which I actually did in the original, so it can be done. It's just not ideal. So just around here, that's where I started curving around. I didn't go up here because I want to put Jack and Sally. Bring this in. And now I'm going to start switching. So have this start to curl over. I'm going to make it a bit wider now. Bring this down a little bit thicker. Go to my detail brush. And then I'm not going to go too narrow. I want to bring this out a little bit more. So I'm just going to go out and then do that Tim Burton style thing. Whatever, if you want to do it kind of gnarly looking, you know what I'm talking about. It's got not the perfect spiral. It's kind of, you know, the Tim Burton where it's got some jagged edges. Yeah, that style. Or you can keep it perfectly smooth. So it has to get a lot thicker pretty fast. So it's going to come in, it's just getting more and more close together here. So if you have like a lot of gaps, in between, just bring this a little bit closer. So you still have a bit of a gap, just not a ridiculous amount. And then keep it nice and thin. Right into the middle. Okay, so I have black down here, and I want to show you how to just blend it out a little bit more, unless you want to keep it like this, and you're going, actually, I like this. So it's all based on preference. If I go back to my medium flat brush, first of all, I'm just going to pick up some plain red. I'm going to let it pick up some of that black. Nice big scoop of plain red. And it's going to pick up the black. And it actually, oddly enough, if you don't know this, black and red make a bit of a purple tinge. And it's just more of a deep red, kind of like a red wine color. So I'm just putting this in. So it's more of a deep red. And it kind of just blends it out. Put a couple going upwards a bit more to your liking. Okay, so see that dark red is nice and deep in color, blended it out perfectly. I let it pick up the black, so that was important. And I did a lot of overlap, lots of lines overlapping. You know what? Feel free to add in like a lighter, not too much of a light blue, just a blue and a touch of white, like a deeper blue or a purple as well. Violet, indigo. Any darker colors that we used in our background here into the dark area. I just added a touch of that in. And if you need to, just go back to some hot pink or red. If it's a bit too harsh, you can just do that illusion thing where we go over some of the dark colors and blend it out by putting a little short line over top. All right. So let's put a bit of gold. Gold will be fun. Let me grab my gold here. Put that on the side. Just around as much as you want around the stars. You can put a little gold dot into the center. Gold dot in the center. And I'm just, it's a bit more transparent, so it actually doesn't come off as bright overall. If you want it to be less transparent, you want it more opaque, just add a bit of white to it, or some orange, that color I was showing you before, the bright yellow, and some orange into it, and some white. But I think it shows up pretty well. And okay, definitely into my moon. I put some in here. A couple streaks going in, like we did before with that other light yellowy orange color. And I'm just touching up on my orange. I had a lot more orange. I liked that color. You know, you get colors that are lost into the mix and you want to bring them back out. Nothing wrong with wanting to add that. Okay, so I filled this in, and you know, if you didn't fill it all in, it's kind of, I tried it both ways. I tried to do the outline around it, and it just ended up, you know, getting mixed around, and I just filled it in afterwards with, I just made the eyes and the mouth with this light color. I thought that was easier instead of having to trace around it. It got a little bit frustrating. So with our detail brush, just washing it off. Let's let that dry. I'm going to blow dry it. But, you know what? Let's go to the people first, and then maybe this will be pretty dry by then. I'm going to go closer. Let's do Jack and Sally. Okay. So for Jack and Sally, water, some black paint. I'm going to start with Jack. Yep. I'm going to start with Jack. So here's what I did. Jack is more a little bit kind of as it goes down, got that extra height there, and Sally's a little higher up. And he's still slightly taller, so it works out because he is actually really tall, as we know. I'm going to go a little bit on this side, kind of overlapping right in this area. So it's not in the center. Let's go off center. Remember I talked about that? And put in. So he's really gangly. I'm trying to think what's easiest for you to start with. Instead of starting with the legs, let's start with the head. How about that? So here we go. We're just going to imagine that he's going to be a certain height. Okay, we want him to be somewhere right up here. Putting a head up in here, by the way, not the greatest. We want to put it right around a lighter area. And I'm going to highlight it too. It makes it stand out a bit more. So if you can make a, I would say more of a circular top of the head into a tiny bit of a point at the bottom. Just a tiny bit, kind of like an alien head. It's very circular for the most part, and maybe a tiny little more of an extra little point at the bottom, not too pointy, just a little. Okay, so from here towards the back of the head, not the very middle, just going to imagine that we have a bit of a neck coming down now. Skeleton, so it's perfect. We don't have to worry too much about perfect details. That's what's great about this. As we work our way down, I'm going to ignore his clothes at the moment. Put a straight line, and then now we have where you think you should have enough space for legs. That's where I just start putting the legs. They are quite long and they are slightly bent, so he's just standing, a little bit of a leg coming out and then straight down. So it's like he's kind of stepping up onto the hill, walking up towards Sally, kind of positions himself. He's not perfectly straight with straight lines for legs. And the same type of thing here. And then kind of a little bit further back for his back leg, keeping him more balanced. So it doesn't look like he's sitting on thin air too much, right? Okay. Now we can put in more details. Let's put in, so from his neck, go a little bit down, not too much like a giraffe, but a little bit, so he has a bit of a neck. And then do a diagonal line, just, you know that collar, that extravagant collar he has, diagonally up, down, into the front, a little bit for a chest. Okay, so just a little bit of a chest. Let's not go crazy. And then bring that in, meeting with where his legs are starting. Bring that in. Make this a little bit thicker. So he's not just bones, even though he is. So at the back, you can put, I know it's hard to tell. I mean, with everything going on in the background, you can put little highlights to give it more detail. You know how he's got a little bit more sticking out the back. It's kind of, trying to think of the word. It gives me vibes of like a Halloween collar. Of course, it's Halloween. Kind of like spider legs. Okay, so the back part is little cape thing that's coming down towards the back. It does this thing. It just very awkwardly trails back. It's just a thinner line, so you can press a little harder, and then it goes back. Okay, perfect. See how it pulls back a little bit like that? It sits awkwardly. Okay, and then we're going to do the arms just a little bit. Let's put Sally in first. Sally, she's not too, she is close to him, but we're not going to go like right up in here. We're going to go a little bit further back. So we want to imagine that they're holding hands, and that's what we're trying to do, that they're just meeting together, holding hands. So she's a bit short. She's obviously shorter than him. Let's go. I think this is a good spot. So do an oval shaped head. And at the front, just a little bit more of a point for a chin. So it looks like she's looking up at him. So instead of her chin being down at the bottom, it's just more off to the side here. And you know what? Since it's so tiny, it's probably not a big deal anyways. It's going to count as her hair. Her hair folds down. We're going to put her hair afterwards. So towards the back of the head, we're going to put that neck, short little line, bring that down. And then we're going to give her Bring that down a little bit. We're going to start making more of the body so things make more sense. Gap for the neck. Start putting a little bit, like we did with him, a bit of a chest coming out. And then inwards, like we did on this side. And she has a skirt. So she's wearing a dress, not just a skirt, but a dress. I'm going to flare it out from where her waist is. Flare it out just a little. Pull it from the back. And then pull it out. Imagine she's got a little bit of a bum, right? That's the thing. It's kind of ragged. You can do like the Raggedy Ann type of streaky lines just all over the place. So just a little bump on the back. Tiny one. I don't need to go full out. And then her legs. So she's got, her legs actually start up where her skirt or her dress is kind of poofing out. So just imagine that in the front here. Come down. And just you want to, when you're doing this, you don't need to make a full bend for the legs, but you can do a soft bend out in front and then straight down if you're fancy, or you can just do straight down. And I just did this one going a bit back, a little bend up here and then back. They don't come too far to the bottom, the legs, they bend pretty high up, really close to the skirt before you start bending it slightly backwards. Now let's put her hair. So if she's looking up at him, it's going to be, we're going to go a little bit further back and you can just kind of flick it outwards. Follow down the back, flick it out. And let's put their arms together. So for her, actually, let's start with Jack. He has his, we know where the shoulders are. They're not where, they're just below the neck, where everything, remember that diagonal line coming down for their chest? Just right here. And they usually come back just a little bit. So it's going to come back. It's going to pull it back. He's got really long arms. So they come back a little bit like that. And then straight across. Bend it. It's like almost like a nice right angle. We're not even having to make hands. So hers, she can have hers pulled back and doing the same thing, or not. You can just put a line coming out from the middle of her chest and between her waist and her chest, and that's where her hand would come out to meet with his. Okay, let's put a little highlight. You can come back when it's dry and do this highlight if you need to. Just pick like a light teal, I think is good. Very light teal, mostly white and a touch of blue and some yellow. So you can go around the outsides. If you go inside their body, they're going to look like they're even thinner. So if you just give it a bit of a glow going around their body parts, basically. You can also highlight a bit of her arm here, going into her body, but just stay on the outside of the body unless you need to make things thinner. How's that glow? Or the details onto her dress. When you go outside of it, you can see a bit more of the detail. Comes a tiny bit more to life. Great. Down here, I just put a couple short lines, shaping around. Look at that, you can see it a bit better. And I'm just adding some into the rest because I can. Okay, so that is Jack and Sally. Let's put the face here, Oogie Boogie. Pretty dry. Yeah, I'm good with that. So just a little tip before we do that too. Light pinky or like a hot pink or a bit of a violet color. You can shape around here as well if you want to put a couple pink or purple bits. And I think it's a good complementary color with the black. Black goes with anything, but especially these colors. If you want to give it a bit more shaping just around. Whoops, I did not mean to do that, but that's okay. So good thing I can go back into this black. So I'm going to start with my orange because I'm just filling the orange today. I'm going to start with the orange and then I'll put in the rest of the hot pink and the teal. Now for the face, try to give yourself the room. We're not starting up here. Then he's got like the most narrow face. More into the open area where it's nice and wide. So this is where the mouth would be. And then the eyes would be up here. For the eyes, they're pretty close to the side. So I'm going to go a little bit further down. Notice how let's just start with the tops. One's bigger over here, one's a little bit smaller, just the angle. I think it's kind of nice. So something like that. Oh, let's go a little bit more this way so you can see the face too. And then from the inner corners, we're going to just soften it a bit more, bring it and loop it upwards. And soften a bit more, loop it upwards. I mostly just fill that in. And then for the mouth, try to imagine it's not too far off from the side of this eye. So I'm going to go a little bit over from the middle part. So right around here, pretty high up. And then bring it down, but curve it just a little bit in and just start making some little bumpy motions because we're going to shape it a bit more. Something like this, really squiggly. And then from here, the middle comes up like that. Okay, so now I'm going to fill it in. Filling it in, we got to be careful. We don't want to go too close to the eyes. So that means we also have to drag it down a little bit. I'm going to bring it down for the most part. I feel like it's high enough here. Running out of orange. Gotta make more. Okay, so we're starting with something. Then I'm going to let that dry. I don't mind the squiggly choppiness. It's kind of like that. Work around it with different colors as I fill it in. So I'm going to blow dry this. This would be, I think, the last time I blow dry this painting. And I'm basically shaping around it and putting in more like teal swirls in there, some red and orange, and maybe a bit of pink. Whatever it was in the background, I'm kind of just picking up that sort of thing. And I don't mind mixing a bit of the color together. Some of it is slightly mixed, but let's just get that dry first. And then we'll go for there. Okay. So it's not perfectly dry, but I think that's good enough. And I think for my next color, I will do some hot pink. Yep, I'm gonna do that. A bit white, scoop of red, a little extra red. And you can add that dot of purple if you want it to be slightly the magenta color, pink magenta. That's a nice color. It's also very much in my background here, as we can see. And I'm just basically blobbing it in. I'm not actually trying to make it perfect anyway, because it's not going to match my background. So as we know, making it very squiggly and imperfect is probably a good thing. And here. And just really get it squiggly at the bottom as well. I like to I'm going to take some plain red now and put some of that in, because I did that in here. Because it's mostly dark red and hot pink at the bottom, so I want some of that red. Just take a nice chunk of it. Just move the paint around, following the swirly motions. And you can do the same thing into the eyes as well. Plus, I think it adds to the nice, scary look into the face. Kind of cool. Washing this off. All I'm doing, don't mind me, I'm just making sure his face is wide enough. So you can use black. I haven't done the teal yet, but you can use black to, change things up. So if you want more of a certain amount of types of squiggles down here, just go around it again. It's more narrow up here, so just remember it's a bit more narrow. Going back to my orange, second coats of orange. So I'm taking a nice big chunk of it, and you can see in the corners, I just went and brought that out, blobed it. Corners. Put some around some of the bottoms here. Just mixed right in with that red and that pinkish color. And personally, I find that the teal is a nice finishing touch before you go back with black and trace around. So remember, teal, we've made this a few times. You're taking a bit of blue, a couple touches of yellow. I would start with a pea size of blue, a couple dots of yellow, and some white. You can go as light or as dark as you would like to. I'm just sticking with the background stuff, and if you are mixing it again, it's not a big deal to have to mix it again. So I'm just sharpening the edges, the corner of the eye. It gives it more of a, more defined look into this corner. I'm doing soft, rounded motions. I'm not going straight across. And then you can put this teal in as much as you like, even to the other corner. This is just straight red. And my last little touches with the red. And I did use a generous amount of paint, as you can tell, nice and thick, so it sticks and stands out really nice. So some red into the inner corners. And all you do is finish it up, some black for a perfect outline. And pull this back. See how it's looking. Any final touches you want to do? I think that should be it. You can sign your painting. Of corner, other corner. Hopefully this was fun. Can't wait to see some results. Show it on our Facebook page, Artist Palette Durham region. And you can see what else is coming up there, as well as on our website, artistpaletedurham.com. We have lots of events coming up, and I hope you had fun. This is such a fun one. Lots of colors. Didn't have to worry too much about being messy. It's kind of the whole point of the painting. Enjoy, guys. Thanks for joining.